Kiara walked up the steps to her apartment, shopping bags in hand after a long day. As she fumbled for her keys, a black blur streaked by her legs, nearly causing her to drop her groceries. "Not again!" she groaned in frustration. This was the third time today she had spotted the mysterious black cat that seemed to be following her. First, it had darted in front of her car as she pulled out of the parking lot at work, causing her to slam on the brakes. Then, it materialized on the sidewalk outside the supermarket, moments before a skateboarder zoomed by, narrowly missing Kiara. Now here it was again, lurking in the shadows of her apartment building. She shook her head and chalked it up to coincidence as she let herself inside. The next morning, Kiara's boyfriend David picked her up for their usual Saturday morning breakfast date. As they walked hand in hand down the street, Kiara suddenly stopped short. There, sitting on the stoop of the cafe, was the black cat. Its glowing green eyes bore into her as the tip of its tail twitched back and forth. Kiara's heartbeat quickened. Something about this animal unsettled her deeply, though she couldn't quite put her finger on why. "What's wrong, babe?" David asked, noticing her discomfort. "That cat," Kiara said in a low voice. "I swear it's been following me. Everywhere I go, it shows up. And every time, something bad almost happens." David furrowed his brow. "What do you mean?" She recounted the near misses of the previous day. "It's like the cat is bad luck or something." "I know it sounds crazy." "It does sound a little crazy," David admitted. "But hey, let's just ignore it and enjoy our breakfast, okay? I'm sure it's just a coincidence." Kiara allowed him to lead her past the cat and into the cafe. She did her best to put the strange feline out of her mind as they ate and chatted. But an hour later, as they exited the restaurant, Kiara's blood ran cold. There was the cat again, crouched on the sidewalk not 10 feet away. Kiara clutched David's arm. "See? I told you it was following me." No sooner had the words left her mouth than a potted plant came crashing down from an overhead balcony, shattering on the concrete right where Kiara had been about to step. She shrieked and stumbled backwards into David. Wide-eyed, they both stared at the cat. It stared back for a moment, then turned and sauntered off down the alley. "Okay, that was weird," David said shakily. Over the next week, Kiara spotted the black cat nearly a dozen times, and without fail, each sighting was swiftly followed by a near catastrophe. A falling signpost that nearly brained her, an aggressive dog that lunged at her from behind a fence, an out-of-control taxi that jumped the curb right next to her. She became a nervous wreck, constantly looking over her shoulder, heart pounding at the sight of anything black and furry. She avoided leaving her apartment except for work. Finally, after a chunk of concrete narrowly missed her head at a construction site she was walking past, Kiara had had enough. That night, she showed up on David's doorstep, suitcase in hand. "I can't take it anymore," she told him, fighting back tears. "That cat, I think it's trying to kill me. Can I please stay with you for a while? I'm scared to be alone." "Of course," David said immediately, wrapping her in a hug. "You can stay as long as you need to. We'll figure this out together." The next day was Saturday again. They slept in, made breakfast, and tried to relax. Kiara was just starting to feel a bit better when David glanced out the kitchen window and stiffened. Kiara? Don't freak out. But guess who's in our backyard?" Her stomach clenched as she peered out to see the black cat sitting calmly on the patio, tail curled around its paws. "That's it. I'm calling animal control," David said, reaching for his phone. "Wait," Kiara caught his hand. An idea was starting to take shape. What if it's not a regular cat? What if the universe or God or something is sending it to me for a reason? Like what? To give you 9 lives worth of brushes with death. No, think about it. The cat shows up right before something dangerous happens. Like it's trying to warn me, or protect me even. David looked skeptical. "By almost getting you killed? But I haven't been killed, have I? Despite all odds. Maybe this cat is my guardian angel. A furry, 4-legged guardian angel." "You can't be serious." Kiara squared her shoulders. "I have to find out. I'm going to let it inside."
Kiara, no.
"We have no idea if it's feral, or has rabies or dash, but she was already opening the sliding glass door. "Here, kitty," she called softly. The cat regarded her coolly. Kiara took a deep breath and held out her hand, feeling slightly foolish. To her shock, the cat stood up and padded towards her, cautiously at first, then with more confidence. It sniffed her fingers, blinked slowly up at her, and then began to purr, rubbing its cheek against her palm. Kiara's heart swelled. She scooped up the cat and cradled it to her chest as she carried it inside. "See? Not feral at all. I think it likes me." Upon closer inspection, they saw that the cat was a bit scruffy and skinny, like it had been living on the streets, but it had a collar with a silver tag dangling from it. David leaned in to read the engraving. "Ha! Says its name is Boomerang, and there's a phone number. Looks like it belongs to the city animal shelter." Kiara suddenly gasped. With the cat curled in her lap, a memory was surfacing. A memory from years ago, when she had first moved to the city. She had been walking home late one night when she heard a pitiful mewing coming from the alley. Following the sound, she discovered a tiny black kitten. So young its eyes were still blue, huddled behind a dumpster. As she approached, she saw that it was injured, a gash on its belly oozing blood. Her heart broke. She coaxed it out and bundled it up in her sweater to take to a 24-hour emergency vet clinic. Saving it would not be cheap. Kiara had been barely scraping by as it was. She couldn't afford the treatment. With tears in her eyes, she asked the vet to do what they could to stabilize the kitten and said she would bring it to the shelter in the morning to surrender it, hoping it would be treated and then adopted to a good home. She visited the shelter a week later to check on it. They said the kitten, which had been named Boomerang due to the unique crescent moon shape of the scar on its belly, had recovered well and had just been transferred to the adoption floor. When Kiara asked to see it, however, the staff regretfully informed her that Boomerang had already been adopted out to a new family. Kiara had left feeling sad, but glad the kitten had found a home. Now, as an adult Boomerang curled up in her lap, things began to fall into place. Gently, Kiara turned the cat over to examine its stomach. There was the scar she remembered, a perfect crescent. "I don't believe it," she breathed. "Boomerang, it's you. Somehow you found me." The cat just purred louder, kneading her thigh with its paws. That afternoon, they took Boomerang to the shelter to inquire about its history. The staff were amazed by the story. "Boomerang was surrendered to us again just a couple weeks ago," the shelter manager told them. "The family that adopted her had a child develop severe allergies, so they couldn't keep her anymore. We'd been having trouble placing her in a new home because of her skittishness around people. She escaped her enclosure 2 days ago, and we've been searching for her. I guess now we know where she went. Straight to you." "I knew she was special," Kiara said, giving Boomerang a scratch behind the ears. "It's like she remembered me, like she knew I'd take care of her again." "Animals have incredible memories and senses that we can't even begin to understand," the shelter manager said. "It seems like Boomerang never forgot about you, and maybe she's been trying to repay you for saving her life all those years ago." Kiara and David formally adopted Boomerang that very day. As they filled out the paperwork, David turned to Kiara and said, "I'm sorry I doubted you before. That cat coming into your life again like this. It really does feel like fate, doesn't it?" Kiara just smiled, watching Boomerang explore her new home. She thought of all the danger she had narrowly evaded thanks to this mysterious feline presence. "I don't think Boomerang is my bad luck charm or a curse at all," she said softly. "I think she's my lucky charm. I think the universe brought her back to me to keep me safe, to give me the chance at 9 lives." From that day forward, the brushes with calamity ceased. Kiara no longer felt haunted or hunted. Boomerang became her most loyal companion, always seeming to sense when Kiara needed extra comfort or affection. A year later, Kiara came across a story on social media that made her gasp. A woman a few towns over claimed that her cat, a Siamese named Lotus, had begun showing up at the scenes of impending minor disasters. A kitchen fire, a burst pipe, a neighbor's car with its headlights left on. The woman posited that Lotus was a kind of feline early warning system for trouble. The story was going viral, with others chiming in with similar tales of cats that seemed to have a sixth sense for looming misfortune. Experts theorized that cats' superior senses and instincts might indeed pick up on subtle cues that humans often miss. Kiara showed the article to David. "Boomerang isn't the only one," she said in amazement. "There are other guardian angel cats out there." She glanced over at Boomerang, curled up asleep in her favorite sunny spot on the windowsill. Her chest swelled with affection and gratitude. "I guess we both got lucky when I found you behind that dumpster," Kiara murmured. "Funny how saving you ended up saving me right back." As if sensing she was being spoken about, one of Boomerang's eyes cracked open. She regarded Kiara with a look that almost seemed to say, "I knew what I was doing all along." Then, with a contented sigh, the little black cat closed her eyes and resumed her nap, secure in the knowledge that all was well. And from that day forward, Kiara never doubted that somebody up there was looking out for her. Even if that somebody had 4 paws, whiskers, and a long black tail.